Okay, so we've got some estimation with population growth. None of it is expected to grow annually by 0.8%. So the population in 2009 was 30,000, and we're going to estimate the population in each of those years, 2013, which was last year, and what would we expect the population to be in 2049. So these questions involve percents. And we're going to look at what happens when you increase something by a percent, and 0.8% isn't very much, and what happens when you decrease something by a percentage. So we'll do a decrease question together as well. Now, increasing by a percentage, here we have 2009. Just as an idea, we'll start with 2009. We know that the population is 30,000. How would you find the next year? Well, if we would find 0.8%, and how do you find 0.8% of something, Austin? You're going to have to take your 30,000. So for 2010, I'll do it off to the side here. 30,000 times, now do I write just 0.8? 0.08 or 0.008? What will it be? Times, right, 0.08, because decimal 0.8 would be 8% increase. 0.8 would be 80%. And 0.8 would be 0.008. So if I do that on my calculator, I've got 30,000 times 0.008. Population is going to go up by 240, because this is equal to 240. So in 2010, the population would be about 30,240. Now, there's something that happens to you almost on a daily basis that is an increase by a percent. Can you think of what happens to you almost daily that increases by a percent?
We get taller.
You get taller, but who knows, you're not increasing by the same percent all the time getting taller. I'll give you a hint. What I'm thinking of is something that happens when you go to a store. You look at the price, and then you get to the cashier, and they charge you more. Taxes, right? And what are our taxes right now in Manitoba? Too high, right? 13%, way too much, right? So each time you go, you've got your $10, and your $10 thing gets increased by 13%. Does anyone know the shortcut to figure out how much that is? Right, we're going to take it and we multiply by, you had your point, 1.13. Now the 1 stands for your amount that you began with. And if we look at what happened here with this 30,240, we started with 30,000 and then we added 240. This is your amount plus, well, here I'll just write it. I'll write it out with the calculations again. This 240 was 30,000 times 0.008. Now, if we use our mathematical skills in factoring, you notice that there's a 30,000 in both of those. And if I factor out that 30,000, I'd be left with a 1 here, because 30,000 times 1 is 30,000. Plus, if I take the 30,000 out of that one, I'll have 0.008. And I'd like you to check with your calculator right now. If you take 30,000 and multiply it by 1.008, do you get 30,240? Yes. Close that bracket for all those people out there that can't handle something not quite done and make you fidgety all class. So anytime we increase by a percentage, sort of as a summary here, our R value one point whatever that percentage is. In our case, our percentage was decimal 0.008, so our R value is going to be 1.008. Now, if 2009 and 30,000 was our term 1, okay, all of this you can now go directly to, oh, I know my R value, that this is the idea behind it. We know that term 1 is 2009, and each time to get 2011, we'd multiply by 1.008 again. And 2012, we'd multiply by 1.008 again. And so if I wanted to find out how much it was in 2013, we'd first have to figure out which term is 2013 going to be. 2013 in our sequence is going to be term 4. Let's do a quick check. 2009 was term 1. 2010, term 2. 2011, term 3. 2012, term 4. 2013, term 5. Whew. How many of you did 13 minus 9 and got 4? That's probably how we got 4. Does that make sense? Why does it end up being term 5? Because we also count 2009. Okay? If you think of the numbers all the way 1 down to 2008, here's 2009. Wow, that does not even, wow. Okay. Here's 2009, and then here's 2013. If we want to figure out how many this is, because 2009 is included, you would do 2013 minus the 2008 that aren't included. So that is going to be a tricky thing to know that it's term 5, not term 4. So tricky per se that I know that a lot of the questions in the textbook made the same mistake that we were going to make here. So sometimes in the answer key, the answers may be slightly off if they chose. No, I think the answer key in the textbook's fine. I think the test generator that makes your questions when it tells me the answer, those answers are wrong. But don't worry, I'll get the answers right when I correct this on, put this question on your quiz for this unit. Okay, so there we have 2013 is going to be term 5. Now we can go to our formula, Tn equals T1r to the n minus 1. We want to find term 5. We know that our first term in 2009 was 30,000. Our R value is 1.008 to the 5 minus 1. Plug this into your calculator all at once. And we can estimate that would be approximately 40,815. I'm not going to put my decimal places because that gets awkward when you're talking about people. 0.3 of a person. So that's part A. To go all the way to 2049, if we did 2049 minus...
I'm sorry for the interruption. Would Melinda Feldy please contact the office, please? Melinda Feldy, please contact the office.
The 2008 that aren't included since we used 2009 as our term 1, that would make 41 terms. And so you'd find term 41. Yes? Did I write the wrong decimal place? Look at that. I added an extra 0. So let's see if I did, you know what we talked about, not putting enough zeros? In my calculator, I only had 1 0. So that's a good point. Let's see if we type in the right amount of zeros. 30,971, is that what they have?
Yeah.
All right. Approximately 31,000. Thank you. Yes. I had just did 1 0 instead of 2. It's nice having those answers at the bottom. So for part B, we'd want to find term 41. Same idea. How many of you think you'd be tempted when you see the 50th anniversary that you would just put 50 and decide not to do any calculations? Maybe. Maybe that would be you. So we're going to have 30,000, 1.008 to the power of 41 minus 1. And is that close to what the bottom says? Yes. Approximately 41,000. We just have more decimal or more information there. So this question is when your percentage is increasing, just like taxes. Okay? Same thing can happen with a percentage decrease. And this doesn't happen as often, but if you get a sale and something's 10% off, you subtract instead of adding, right? Taxes, you add to the price. Percentage off, you subtract from the price. So if you go to the homework and just turn to question 15, we'll do that one quickly together. Oh, I'll tell you now before I forget, the questions after that last one were 10, 13, 14, and 15, but we're going to do 15 together. Because 15 is a percentage decrease. Wow. A percentage increase, your R value is going to be 1 plus the percentage. So 1.13 is what you would find for our taxes here in Manitoba. A percentage decrease, you're going to subtract the percentage. So if it's 10% off, or it's this one, in this case, it's depreciating, meaning it goes down in price 10% per year, then your R value is going to be 1 minus 0.1, and in this case, our R value is going to be 0.9. Because if it's a 10% off, 90% remains. So that's why it's going to be 0.9. Estimate the value of the combine at the end of each of the first 5 years. Okay. Now, do we want term 1 to be the 370,000? Okay. 370,000 is term 1. Term 2 would be 370,000 times 0.9. 333,000. And I'm going to write in brackets, that is the end of the first year. Does that make sense that if our beginning of the year is 370,000, at the end of the first year will be term 2? Okay? Again, we got to be really careful with these word problems that we know what our terms mean, and so on. So term 3, you could take the answer you had there before and multiply it by 0.9 again. And now you get 299,000 $700. That would be the end of the second year. I'm sure you could keep going times 0.3, times 0.9, times 0.9, times 0.9, and find those other ones. As a sequence, this makes a geometric sequence because we have a common ratio of 0.9. In part C here, if you wanted to keep going, to the end of the 10th year, or end of year 10, which term will it be? Term 11. So most common mistake, sometimes the textbook did term 10 instead of term 11. I know that the program that makes the quizzes and stuff had the answers wrong. So we do term 11. We know term 1 was 370,000. We know R value is 0.9. It'll be 11 minus 1. And we just plug this in. Approximately $129,000.